Welcome. Welcome to Newsbreak. I'm your host, Socrates Garrett. My co-host, Christopher Young, is in City Hall at an all-important meeting of the Jackson City Council, where they're debating the fate of an African-American-owned contractor who has been picking up our garbage in Jackson, Mississippi for the past 6 months without being paid. This work that this contractor has done is tremendously important. And to devote that many resources and energy to picking up trash in a major city for 6 months without being paid is unheard of. What's going on down here in Jackson, Mississippi needs to be in a movie. No one would believe it. But we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi at the We Believe Digital Broadcast Studio. This program is called Newsbreak. So we're going to spend some time talking about these things that are occurring right now in the middle of the day here on Tuesday afternoon. Our correspondent has indicated that the Jackson City Council is currently in executive session. You know, it was rumored that an agreement had been made over the weekend because the contractor, Rich's Disposal Service, had said they would not pick up trash off the streets of Jackson after Saturday. So somewhere over the weekend, a temporary deal was made, giving Rich's enough confidence to believe that he was going to be paid. And so he continued to pick up trash on this Monday. But today, in the city council meeting that's currently going on and has been going on now since 10 a.m., it's almost 2 o'clock, and the council meeting is still going on. And today, council people indicate, especially Councilman Kenneth Stokes and Councilman Vernon Hartley, indicate that they have never agreed to any temporary deal that would allow this contractor to be paid. Now, you got to ask yourself, what is going on in an 85% black city? That's a population of 85%. When your African-American mayor with a African-American majority city council consisting of 5 out of 7. And when we have an African-American firm that has won the RFP process as recommended by the city attorney's office and the committees that did the scoring, and this firm was $1.2 million less than the next bidder, giving the city over 10 years over $12 million in savings just to pick up the trash in Jackson. It's a crying shame when black folk can't come together, can't reach a logical conclusion that is in the best interest of our city, to allow this vendor to pick up trash since he was the lowest and best responder reported out of the committee meetings. It just makes good sense to do that. And yet we have 3 African-American council people who have consistently voted not to award this contract to Rich's Disposal Services. Consistently voted not to award this contract to an African-American firm in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, black folk, we have no one to blame. If we're going to lose control over the government of this city, we have no one to blame but ourselves. You see, I was so proud when we got our first African-American mayor elected in Jackson, Mississippi back in 1995, Mayor Harvey Johnson Jr. It was one proud moment. It was akin to the day that America got its first black president in Barack Obama. I had the same emotional feelings, a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense that this was a new day that we were embarking upon, where we would no longer be ruled and governed by Europeans that historically have not had our best interest in heart in Jackson, Mississippi. Why do I say that? Because Jackson, Mississippi, African Americans got less than 2% of contracts for goods and services during the entire reign of the European leadership. We changed that slightly with Harvey Johnson, and we moved that number up significantly. 8 to 10% of contracts for goods and services were going to African Americans. And in professional services, where you don't have to bid, we were getting as much as 40% to African American firms. And so it was a proud day, and we knew that day would happen because we had seen what it meant to have a strong, aggressive leader like Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. When Maynard said that there would be no contracts awarded at the Atlanta International Airport unless it had 25% black participation. It would be no contracts there awarded unless there were 25% black participation in that contract. And when Harvey Johnson was elected mayor right here in Jackson, Mississippi in 1995, and I noticed that Maynard Jackson himself attended the inaugural celebration, and he spoke about the significance of having a black mayor and what it meant to black folk in Jackson, Mississippi. It was a proud day. No one could fathom, if we rolled the clock forward from 1995 until 2022, no one could have fathomed, no one could have ever believed that an African American administration and an African American majority council would not celebrate the day that it could award a prime contract to an African American firm. That is a victorious day. That's a glorious day. When we break through and one of us, one of our own, is the low bidder for a major contract. You see, Waste Management had held this contract in Jackson, Mississippi for over 35 years. 35 years. And it had to be rebid because state law mandated that you cannot simply go on for another term without bidding. You cannot renew the contract after 35 years. It's mandatory that you send it out for bid. And so we were celebrating in 1995, and I was celebrating in 2022 when Richards was declared the low bidder. Now, I'm a contractor here in Jackson, Mississippi, and have been since 1980. So I've seen all of the different versions and the different stories and the tactics that were used to keep minorities out of contracts. I've seen the state issue certificate of responsibility requirements of any contract over $20,000. You have to have a state licensed contractor to demolish your own house. A individual in Jackson, Mississippi can no longer build his own house. Imagine that. You own your own land, but you cannot build your own house. You have to have a licensed contractor to build it. Now, those things were put in place because we knew that African American firms who were trying to break through would not be able to hurdle that goal of having a state contractor's license. So where do you get a state contractor's license from? The State Licenses Board, which is consist and ruled and governed by Europeans. And very few minority firms have state contracts in Mississippi. We're one of the very few with a certificate of responsibility and as a licensed contractor, but not many. And so I've seen how things are put in place to keep black folk from participating in the contracts for goods and services. I've seen how that's done. I've seen how we qualify vendors for contracts if it's on state contract. How do you get on state contract? Well, Europeans have to decide. Very few blacks have state products on state contracts for goods and services. Very, very few. It's hard to get on state contract. And why is that important? Well, because if you are on state contract, that means that any institution that's a government institution or a state institution or a college or a municipality or a county can buy from you without bidding in any dollar amount. They can simply pick up the phone and order $5 million worth of office supplies without a bid if you're listed on state contract. So naturally, that's a sweet spot that you'd want to be in as a vendor, but black folk are not on state contract. There's no effort to get them on state contract. And so we're systematically denied the opportunities. Another way they do it is they start to bundle contracts. Instead of preparing contract that fits the needs of your community with smaller contracts, they put them all together in one big contract because they know no minority firm would be able to meet the qualifications and the criteria for such a large contract because it requires bonding, payment bonds and performance bonds. Black folks simply don't have that in Jackson, Mississippi, and not in many other places. Now, we're fortunate. We are one of the few companies that are able to bond some $20 million with both performance and payment bonds. And so these things are put in place to keep you from participating in the system. Now, that's not enough. So why do I celebrate Richard's disposal? When a black man can navigate the shark-infested waters that I just described, when he can jump all of those hurdles, when he can check all of those boxes, payment bonds, performance bonds, insurance certificate, past performers, credit worthiness, when he can check all of them boxes and is the low bidder, why wouldn't I celebrate? Because I know that if Richards could do it, that one day you could do it. Your son, your daughter could do it. If they see Richards do it, it means it's doable. And so we celebrated just to have our city council, our African-American majority city council, vote to not award the contract to Richards Disposal. And through this whole thing in the streets, into a tug of war like we've not seen before. But I'm very, very proud of our mayor, Antar Lumumba, for taking this stand. Now, I don't think that he went into it to take this stand. I think he, like Martin Luther King, got drafted and got caught up in the moment and find yourself in this situation where you have to take a stand and defend it at the expense of losing your entire career. I know about that personally. I've taken a lot of stands that have cost me a lot of opportunity in this city, in this state. When you stand up and fight for what's right and fight for what you believe in against the establishment will make you pay. They will punish you. They will cut you off. They will blackball you. and they will send, this is the sad part, they will send the word down to black elected officials that you ought to be blackballed and denied opportunities. And we carry out the will of the oppressor with as much zest as we possibly can. We'll fight to the death to deny a black man a contract. You see, we won't fight to the death to award a black man a contract, but we'll fight to the death to deny him a contract. I'll tell you from personal experience. You see, back in, let's say, 2009, I had an opportunity to have a contract for doing all of the dewatering, all the sludge incorporation throughout Hinds County. And I ran the plant, wastewater treatment plant at Presidential Hills. But an African-American majority council decided they would run that, took the contract from me and awarded it to a white female company out of Philadelphia, Mississippi. Now, I have nothing against white female companies. I do have something against them when they parade themselves as being minority firms when their husband, in fact, still owns the company but pushes them out front just to take advantage of the minority goals and the designations that are required on federal contracts. I do have a problem with that. And I've spoken very critically to all of the folk at the Mississippi Department of Transportation because too much of that is going on over there. They're able to meet their goals, but they're not meeting it with black folks. So they find ways around the black community. And we remain poor, broke, both in spirit and in wealth. We're getting ready to go to station break. We'll be right back after these few words.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate, illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his five senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
My name is Wendy Wilson White. I'm a candidate for Hinds County Circuit Court Judge District 2. I was born here and I stayed here. I'm a graduate of Provine High School, Tougaloo College, and Mississippi College School of Law. I've been practicing law here in Jackson and Hinds County since 2001. I have 21 years of trial and courtroom experience, and for the past 8 years, I've been prosecuting crime. I'm running for Circuit Court Judge because I want to redefine justice. We don't deserve to feel unsafe on the streets of Jackson and Hinds County, and you don't deserve to see your families and loved ones killed. We deserve to have a judicial system we can all believe in, and you deserve to have a judge who will hold people accountable. People who live with mental illness deserve fair treatment from our judicial system. We need to educate our children about crime and how they will be held responsible for their actions. We deserve to see our children grow old. They should not be defendants or victims of crime at such early ages. You deserve a judge who is fair and impartial, experienced, and dedicated to the places you and I call home. I want to be the difference our city, county, and court deserve. On November 8th, I need your vote. Please vote Wendy Wilson White, www.hendcourt.com. Hines County Circuit Court Judge, District 2.
And we're back. You're watching We Believe Digital Broadcast Studios presentation of Socrates Garrett Live. Of Newsbreak. I'm beginning to mix my shows up here. So this is Newsbreak. Socrates Garrett Live will air at 5 o'clock on Friday. This is Newsbreak, and we've been talking about the Jackson City Council that is currently in executive session. They've been in executive sessions for over an hour. They've just removed all of the city staff from the chambers. Only the city attorneys and the supervisors are in the chambers. You see, in Jackson, the city attorney represents both the mayor and the council. But on many occasions, the council has gone outside and got its own attorneys to fight and wage a lawsuit against the mayor. You heard me right. Our council has filed a lawsuit against the administration. And so we are just wondering how we're ever going to be able to get our folk to work together. Now, I don't know of any city that's in worse shape than Jackson, Mississippi. I'm talking about, they're small cities. I mean, Mississippi has probably 65 mayors. So there's small towns that are struggling and hurting. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. But I don't know of any other capital city in America that's struggling like Jackson, Mississippi. We're struggling with a leadership void. We're struggling with people who don't have vision. We're struggling with the fact that we have council people that make remarks like, you know, and these, I'm talking about these folk, and these folk are my friends. And so, you know, it just hurts to hear your folk, your friends, say things so wrong. When Councilman Kenny Stokes said, would you pay a little boy if he came to your house and cut your grass and you didn't ask him to? He said he wouldn't pay him, and gave that as an analogy between not paying Richard's Disposal that's spending $800,000 a month just to pick up trash off our streets. He was wrong for that. You ought to pay the little boy for cutting the grass. You ought to encourage him to cut grass, to work, to develop work ethics, to earn your way. I would have paid him twice if I came home and found him cutting my grass and I know it needed cutting. Certainly I would have paid him. And then you have another council person, Councilman Vernon Hartley, that says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't get that. When black folks get less than 2% for contracts for goods and services, it's broke. In a black city, it's broke. If you don't see that it's broke, then clearly you cannot provide visionary leadership to change the status of black folks and improve the quality of life and to build a strong black business class, which is critically important, essential to improving the conditions in your community, because you build a tax base. And when you improve a tax base, you have more money for your schools, the more money to fix roads and bridges, no money, more money to buy fire trucks and police cars and to hire police people to provide the services that municipalities are chartered to provide. So if you can't follow the dots and see that it's broken, then we're in trouble. We're in big, big trouble. And so, you know, they are still in executive session, and we are trying our best to figure out how to provide the kind of leadership necessary to move the needle in the Black community. Now, this has been Newsbreak. We're going to come to you as often as we can and keep you updated on what's going on here in Jackson. And until we meet again, have a great day and be safe.